Like I said, Mead, assistant strength and conditioning coach, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about our track and field program. Not the whole thing, just the exact events I'm fortunate enough to work with. So we'll start off. NDSU family, it's been a huge part of me like Coach already described, right? I came in nowhere near where I needed to be to take this position, right? I think it talks a lot about our family too in terms of when Coach Mueller came in here yesterday, wanted the staff to get together, take a picture, right? That the sports coach, so I came in here talking about the NDSU family. It's stressed throughout. It's really hard to distinguish. I think you just got to be a part of it. Okay, I know that there's a lot of people in this room. That's why we're back here right now. It's an incredibly huge part of the area and part of the culture all around here. So my family, recently married in November. My wife left her job down in the cities, moved up to Fargo, and left everything she knew, family, friends, all that stuff, came up here with me, right? Put a ring on it finally after 8 years. So she's very happy about that. We'll see what the next step is and how quickly I give her that next step. But no, we're working together on that. Anyways, no, I'm very fortunate. We got a little puppy, but just bought a house, so very fortunate in that regard. And then my mentors along the way. College football player, D3, small school, right? Knew a little bit about strength conditioning, knew I liked lifting weights, knew all this other stuff. Was fortunate enough to go down south and work with Coach Moffitt for a little bit in the LSU program. Then come up Coach Mo at SDSU. And then now here, fortunate enough to get a GA with Coach Kramer for a year. Left to be at the Power Center here in town. And honestly, I knew that's not something I never thought I'd be doing. That's nothing, private, knew I didn't really want to do it. And that just being there really reinforced coming back, the opportunity I got from Coach Miller, getting a call one day, not really having much going on in terms of collegiate, just doing what I had to do to make it by at that point. And hey, something fell through. When can you be? Now, I can be there right now. And the opportunity I was given, forever in debt for that, so thank you very much. All right, now I'll actually get on with my stuff. So the program. I know a lot of people in this room have had some experience with this program. Right, I kind of came in, didn't really know what I was doing, so who was I to change anything? We've had a lot of success around here. Right, since 2008, joined the Summit League in 2008, the women have won every indoor conference championship and every outdoor conference championship. Okay, that's 10 indoor, 9 outdoor. The males have won 6 indoor and 8 outdoors, okay, in that same time frame. Long before that, they were successful as well as 2 on the D2 side. So coming in, very humbling, the type of character of student athlete we get. Humbling on that regard, the amount of work they're willing to do for each other as a track team, an individual sport in some regards, is phenomenal. Okay, very fortunate in that way. So the student athletes I'm fortunate enough to work with, I have the sprinters, the jumpers, the hurdlers, the multis, and the vaults. Okay, that equals 54 athletes. I get to train 31 female athletes and 23 male athletes. I really want to stress multi-sport high school athletes. Okay, the team, right? The team. Our track team trained as a lot of multi-sport high school athletes, right? They understand the concepts of a team. They understand working together for a common goal, okay? And that shows up in our training, that shows up in the practice, that shows up in their dedication they take to make these things worthwhile. I know we have some former track athletes in here too, and I think they would attest to that over the years. Okay, the groups, so how this looks, right? Summer, we'll have anywhere from 5 to 15 athletes. We're gonna train a morning group at 8 a.m. and a 5:30 group at night. In the fall, 6:15 a.m., makeup group, anywhere from 20 athletes, depending on what's going on. A 5 o'clock female group and a 5:30 male group. Winter break, they're on their own. I'll go into more details, obviously, on this stuff going forward. Spring and indoor, we got a makeup group, depending on class schedules. We got a 5 o'clock female group and a 5:30 male group, and outdoor, the exact same thing. So 54 athletes, 31 females, 23 males. I think that's the math, right? How do we do it, right? How do we do it? So we have 10 athletes. We're going to at least have one coach with them. Always. That's done using graduate assistant, myself, paid interns, just people volunteering, wanting to get more experience with them. So forever in debt to those people, too, that allow us to do it at the level we're trying to do it at. Okay? Without them, this would never be able to take place. So also the veteran athletes, right? They've been around. They know how things should look. They're confident in what they're doing. Right? They can tell the person next to them that doesn't look quite right. Here's what I need you to do. They're involved in the training. Okay, and then like I said, buying and ownership. Obviously, with all these things going on, we got a limited time. So we have 12. We have 12 platforms. We're on the platforms a very short time. We got a group at 5. We got a group coming in that needs that snatch while the other group's benching at 5:30. So how do we do this, right? So I wanted to kind of get, somebody on our staff had a great idea. Let's get a time-lapse video. Okay, so I know it's backwards right now. Hopefully it shouldn't play backwards. Kind of go through it. Perfect, so Coach Willie, try it again. It's freezing up a little bit. I think this computer's slowing down. Let me try it one more time. Perfect, okay. So the ladies come in. Okay, we start off snatches. This is probably taken, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago, so just starting our outdoor season. Ladies coming in, then we'll move into the racks. We'll do some pin squats / quarter squats, and then they're on the bench. Okay, as soon as the ladies go on the bench, guys, I'm talking to the guys come in. Okay, here's the guys. We start snatching. Ladies are still benching somewhat. We're able to snatch out in front, right? As long as we're safe, we'll pull benches out of the way, make sure we're safe in that regard. And then the guys go in, pin squat, and the ladies now are on to the accessory movements. Guys squat, bench, whatever we have that given day, we'll bring it up. After everything's done, then we'll break out and do our accessory movements. We're coaches at each station, helping out throughout that. So we'll pair up our last 3, and there's thank you, Coach Will. I definitely wanted to keep that in there. He told me it needed to be about 3 or 4 seconds earlier, but nah, I think it just wanted to make sure. So obviously controlled chaos, like we talked about. All right, so planning out a year. I know Coach Drew threw up one of these, right? Here's mine, okay? I really honestly don't know what this means. I've never used it before in my life. Thank you, Coach Willie. He made this for men's golf. Men's or women's golf? Men's golf. Okay, men's golf. Just not the way I can operate. I'm not very good with this stuff. Colors, yeah. So I just want to make sure I threw it up there just to know. So here's my kind of plan. So I know roughly, obviously I'm going to meet with coaches. Roughly during the summer, we're going to have 8 weeks of training. Okay, I know roughly during the off season, there's supposed to be an asterisk in there, but the Bison font will not allow asterisks. So it's roughly 15 weeks. Winter break, I'm going to have about 3 weeks with athletes. Indoor and outdoor, roughly 8 weeks, depending on the calendar. Okay, and there's my calendar in the bottom half. So I write everything down, pen and paper. I know we're going to lift these days, and then we're going to do body comps these days, and this is all done while talking to the coaches, obviously, and coming up with a plan in the forefront. Summer, okay. Really important time for us to get the kids out of here, some of them. The ones that, obviously, we have a decent group that stays in, but we need them to train still, okay, as much as possible. So obviously, to get healthy, we build from a long indoor, outdoor season. Our prep phase lasts a while, so we got some beat up, right? A lot of traveling. I'll get into that a little more just based on where we're at. Anyways, so continue to develop patterns also. So these are really easy stuff they can do on their own. We're not going to throw them anything new that we haven't done all season long on their own. Not going to expect that. And also to gain strength. So continue to train. This is done. But it's challenges, obviously, with the beaches. You know, the beaches are open around here for 2 or 3 months, right? I know the help wanted. I know people have jobs throughout, obviously. So that's why I have that 8 o'clock and 5:30 group. Okay. Going forward, here's just kind of a sample. So all these similar, you're going to see a lot of similarities between the whole thing, right? You're going to have some form of Olympic movement depending on where we're at. You're going to have some form of lower body or upper body strength movement. They're going to have single leg. You're going to have accessory movements throughout. Just based on where we're at, this may look different for everybody. But everybody on the team that's able to, like Coach Shilben and I have talked about, we're going to try to keep everybody together as much as possible. Okay, on the racks, whatever we're doing that day. They might be limited in what they're doing. They might be limited in their intensity that they're doing it at. They're going to be doing some form of something with the group. Okay, off season. Huge portion for us to get these student athletes ready to go for their season. Indoor, outdoor, very long periods of time, obviously. I think what's really important is that everybody starts together. Okay, like I just talked about, it's not necessarily the same exercise. It's not necessarily the same movement. In terms of bar and back, you know, where the bar is placed, if it's a barbell, if it's a dumbbell, wherever that is, we meet the kids where they're at rather than us forcing a square peg in a round hole, right? Emphasis on establishing correct patterns, okay, and then loading those patterns as we progress. Use of progressions, just an example, single leg, we'll start basically everybody with a dumbbell split squat of some sort for a single leg. Whether that dumbbell's goblet style, whether that's 2 dumbbells, whether that's kettlebells, whatever it may be, we're going to meet the athletes where they're at, whether that's front foot elevated, any one of those things can happen. And body comps. Body comps are incredibly important for us. Just doesn't happen just during the off season. We'll do it during the season too. Indoor season we'll do one, and then right when they get on campus. So like I said, school start before Thanksgiving. So after about 9 to 10 weeks of training, see how the training did, see how we did, and then in between the indoor and outdoor phases. And so here's my plan, I guess, is the best way to say it now, a little bit different. Just kind of going through it. Got the date, the week, phase, relative intensity, which I'll get into a little bit later on, actual intensity, our volume, our sets, reps, and then notes. So we'll always squat 2 squat patterns a week. Notes is always whatever the opposite day is. But yeah, it's nothing too fancy or anything like that. Then the bottom we got our cleans, so squat and bench we'll do kind of together. And then cleans on the bottom we'll always have where we're at in our progression. So block, pull, trap clean. I bet a lot of people in here have seen this stuff before. Nothing crazy. Then we'll do our top down clean series. Start with above the knee. We'll always be deadlifting that second day, during this phase at least, to get them stronger, more confident off the ground. Because that's our goal, obviously. Our goal is to get them from cleaning off the ground. Whether we can or not, that just depends on where they're at, and we're never going to force them anything. So, first block. Then here's kind of an example, week 3. So clean progression, we're at the knee, overhead press, working on overhead flexibility, see where we're at in terms of can we actually push press this athlete, can we work into explosive movements, our squat variation, and then so on. Second day, hip, snatch from the hip. So we're in our snatch progression, a deadlift off the floor, single leg, same setup, same movements throughout, just maybe done a little bit differently and in terms of challenges throughout the blocks. Okay, here's the next block, so our strength block. So week 7, coming in, same thing, relative, actual, so on. We'll get into more faster movements, I guess, the pace of them, so XP squats. And then this week, week 9, is the only time ever throughout the year that we'll actually work up to a working max. So this will be a heavy single on a squat. This will be a heavy single on a bench. We're nowhere near ready to test power cleans or anything like that. We're continuing to train those, but feel that this works the best in terms of what we're doing. We're not maxing these student athletes out. We're getting a good training weight we're able to train them at. And this is fluid. This is a very fluid movement. So we talk it over after each lift, especially with the younger athletes. You're going to see a lot of gains with them. They're going to get stronger over the indoor season. We see it continually, especially on the upper body stuff where they're not getting taxed as much with all the running they're doing. Cleans into our power clean, hang clean clusters. Still getting some technique work. This is the first time we'll actually start power clean, hopefully with some of the athletes, so about week 7. And how this will look. So switch up our rotation a little bit. We'll snatch from the first day. Then our speed-based squat, bench, and the accessory movements. Next day, cleans. Working into our push press now, hopefully in the front rack. More emphasis on a single leg. And then our sled marches. We started implementing some sled march, sled drags, sled drives about 2 years ago. Coach Miller and I on the turf with the prowler like Coach Winter was talking about. Weren't throwing up or anything with it this time, but just kind of working on some technique stuff, right? So we're leaning into that thing, good base, hips are underneath us, and we're trying to march with this thing, okay? Just like the regular speed mechanics stuff, right? How does this feel? What is it doing to me? Our foot in the right spot, our hips in the right spot. It's a good reinforcement we found with the athletes. We can load it up a little bit, okay? And we kind of constitute that almost as an accessory single leg movement, I guess, in this way. And just like anything, we're looking to build speed up with that. So start with the march, and we'll move on. I'll show you that stuff a little bit later on. And then our cluster cleans, also, you see this at a couple different spots. Same scenario. Coach Miller and I were talking, hey, we've seen some stuff. Tried it out in our training. Really like doing clusters. Hit 2, rest your 20 seconds. Hit another 2, rest your 20 seconds. Hit your next 2, rest your 20 seconds, however long you can go at that pace, right? So see the bar speeds increasing. Student athletes staying engaged that whole time. Right, so they're on the clock, 20 seconds, okay, you're ready to go, and give them some quick feedback, and we're ready to go again. And then our last phase, kind of leading up into our first meet. So typical power, we'll wave, squat and bench, and then cleans. Got some complex stuff, so we'll hit a power clean, set a power clean, hit a clean pull right after that set. So the rotation goes around, you're hitting a clean pull. Then immediately after a clean pull, we got the turf right in the middle there, you're able to run out to the turf, hit your 3 broad jumps. Okay, one at a time. We're not really going consecutive with those. We tried that out, honestly, and the student athletes just didn't look very good doing it. They're kind of out of control, so we slowed it down, right? We're going to teach you, okay, you're going to hit 1, right? We demoed everything, obviously, like beforehand, but you know how that goes sometimes still. So we hit 1, rest, hit another 1, continue to teach it how you want them landing it, right? And loading it and pushing, so. And here's how something like that would look. So we started snatch from the ground last year. I was very, very hesitant, very, very scared to snatch from the ground. We have blocks, we have everything, we got top down stuff, everything, and it's been really, really good. Really happy with how the athletes tolerate it. Not all of them do it, obviously, like we talk about. The ones that are able to, though, we do. Bench waves, like we talked about in there, single leg. Then I talked about power clean, clean pull, broad jump combo, double, and then triples on your broad jumps. Work into our jerks, our sled bounding. There's now a little bit more speed to that marching action. Weights lighten up. It's more of we talked about as like a assistance exercise almost like in terms of helping the athlete. Speed base, they're able to sit upright, nice posture with it. And then clean clusters, squat, we'll complex squat also with the vertical jumps. I'll show you some of the stuff, jump mat stuff we've been able to do. Like I talk about, these kids really, student athletes really like to compete together. I know I kind of touched on earlier, but I say, obviously, I know a lot of us will be familiar with their relative intensity, right? Stress it across all the sports, all the Olympic sports around here. Our idea is to train, not crush the athletes, right? You know how lower body, especially these athletes are running all season, right? You get the nagging injuries, get the compound stuff that happens. But it just helps us paint a more clear picture of where the training's been going, where we're looking to go with it, and what we're trying to achieve with it. So the chart that we use, pretty simple to read anyway. So if we want to hit a set of 6, 70% actual, work up, 7 to 6, move over, 85 relative intensity. So basically we found anywhere from 79 to 91%. That's kind of our sweet spot. Okay, we're doing most of our training, 80, 90% of our training within that range. Okay, so that student athlete's able to train, not going to crush them. They can still get benefits from it, and able to move freely and really compete still within those parameters. Winter break, so give it to them prior to finals week, right? So we're off finals week, then they have about 2 to 3 weeks on their own. Found that many of the athletes weren't having accessibility to their weight rooms at their high schools. I had to go to private, don't have bumpers. Okay, what do I do? Okay, coach. Well, we kind of came up with something a little different. I know Coach Lopez, you've probably seen that body weight stuff before. You're in a lot of those videos, so thank you very much. So we hyperlinked up everything. Click on your phone, brings you the exercise if you don't have any equipment at use, right? So we got all the body weight stuff right there. You're able to do that at home. No excuses. Like I talked about earlier, we're trying to maintain those patterns. Right? It's incredibly important just to do the movement, weighted, unweighted, whatever it may be. When they come back, we notice so much better differences between them if they did something body weight versus if they didn't do something at all. Okay? 2 days a week during the winter break. Okay, indoor season, so obviously want to maintain our strength levels. Continue the patterning. So I'll go into it a little bit more, but we don't full range motion squat after week 3 of indoor ever again. Not ever again, I'm sorry. The rest of indoor, the rest of outdoor. Rest of indoor, rest of outdoor. So this is done. Complexes, our pin squats. Show you some videos of that, how that looks. That's another exercise where Coach Silberner talked about it earlier, about having training philosophies. No, that fits within our parameters. Okay, that fits within our parameters. We continue to tinker with it, continue to toy with it. Coach Miller and I, how are we loading it? What does the shin angle versus the torso angle look like? What are we trying to achieve with those things? And then our specific as we'll get with track and field. So our sled march to our sled bound to our sled drag, which I'll show you some videos of some of that stuff. I don't have it all in videos, but. And here's the plan for that one. I know it might be hard to read in the back, but all the events are on the right, same basic setup, relative actual volume, sets and reps. So relative coming back on the squat, I know like we talked about how some of the student athletes are able to load bars, so I always start them relatively fairly light and actually build them up to their actual where we want them to be that given day. So 4x4, 4x3, 4x2, working them back into some patterning stuff and trying to maintain some strength, see where we're at. And then from there on out, it's kind of a more power-based. So drop jumps, complexes, bench waves again, just like the last couple weeks of the prep phase. And indoor, the same thing, waving at the end, just trying to get them sub-technique work in the beginning, making sure we know where they're at and establish those patterns again. Here's sample week 5 for this last year. So snatches, we'll start second sets from the week before. Our pin squats paired up with our drop jumps, bench waves, and then some accessory movement on the backside. Power clean wave, double singles waves, and our jerk, our explosive, sled bounding, and then some of our accessory movements. Here's a couple of the exercises. So I know Coach Miller and I always talk about how go to conferences and tell you what you're doing, and they don't show you what they're doing. How does it actually look in a group of 54 athletes? So that's something we really wanted to do, make sure you guys got to take a look at how it actually looks. Some of the athletes anyway. Oh, I guess you're not going to get to see how it actually looks. Clicked on it. Computer slow. Should just be able to click. Yep, there we go. So some clean. This is indoor phase. So So like I said, hang clean, power clean, where the athletes are able to be at. Some jerks, spotting each other. By now we're on the behind the neck. And then some of our sled bounding. So some of these guys, some of the issues we've had with this, wait till the video is done, but. So as you can tell right there, that's a good picture. We have some taller athletes, obviously, so the sled handles are only so here. They'll force them to lean back their hips. So we're able to extend some handles up, get them to lean into it a little bit more. So that's some of the things we've been tinkering around with. But yeah, other than that, it's been fairly successful for it. And the athletes, give them a little bit of, like Coach always said, Scott talked about a little bit of apple pie, right? A little bit more like their sport. Still within our training parameters. Okay, then outdoor. More longer travel, right? We're in Fargo, North Dakota. Not too much going on outdoor season-wise at the beginning of March, right? So we have to travel. Went out to California 4 times, had a meet at Nebraska, went out to California again, now we're back at home. Had a home meet, Drake this week, and then 2 more home meets to finish out the season. So that's something we have to take into account, the stress levels, school with travel. Some other things we did this last off-season, or outdoor season, which we're still in, clusters with our cleans. Complex squat variation, same specific exercise, whether it be a sled bound, but we also added in on the bottom there, we have a group of jumpers / short sprinters, did some quarter squats with them. So some heavier quarter squats versus our speed-based pin squat, and really liked it. Really liked it. It took a couple weeks, like I said, to figure out what positions the athletes should be at, for them to know where they should be, depth, with bands, how we're actually going to do this thing. But you'll see in the videos it actually turned out really well. And we did our due diligence beforehand, obviously, too, but squats. And then sled drags versus sled bound. So what we did with the sprinters and jumpers group, that same group, loaded up a heavy sled, had the belt around the waist, and just marched with that thing. So anywhere from the females, we started out with 315 on the turf, pretty good, worked up to 405, some of them, and the guys, the males were anywhere from 365 to about 455, 500 pounds on a march. So here's the plan, like I said. California, Husker, California, and then our Drake. Now we're kind of winding down, but there's no full range of motion squats in the outdoor season. We'll always do a complex after, whether it be quarter squat or pin squat. Like I said, we try to keep everybody together, everybody doing a lot of the same patterning, whether it be a different loading mechanism, however it's going to be. And then bench is just a little bit different, same concept in terms of 3 weeks of strength base, and then we'll work into our waves before we shut it down before the last meet. And then cleans, clustered it coming back. So 2 by 2 by 2 clusters, that's at 20 seconds rest between about 1.5, 2 minutes between each cluster, each set. And then following down just some singles to finish off, some heavy singles and a couple back off sets. And right now we're gonna be in week 7 here coming up. So if you guys have any questions about that later, feel free. And then just some disparities between the cards. So the left is the sprints, voltas, hurdlers and vaults, and then on the right is that short sprint jumps group. So hang snatch, sport coach wanted them to be higher, so didn't want them going from the ground, so we were able to obviously talk, communicate that, and then just as long as it fits within our parameters, we can accommodate some things, obviously. So hang snatch from the knee versus snatch, pin squat versus quarter squat, everybody did their drop jumps. I'll show you some videos of those drop jumps. And then bench waves, same thing on accessory movements, and also the same concepts on the backside. So. And here's some video of the outdoor days. So, snatch rows. So like I said, we got some individuals hang snatch in versus power or full snatch. And here's an example of a pin squat. So what we did, I don't think I paused it real quick. Kind of want to talk about that. It's a bad spot to pause it. Anyways, I'll let it roll a little bit. Right there, perfect. So previous to this year, we didn't have any black bands, those thin black bands. We're able to time around the pins. Before, we would set up the pins at a designated height, depending on their height level. Right, we kind of work with athletes. And what we'd force them to do, we want them to get down a little bit more on the balls of their feet, vertical jump loading pattern. That's what we wanted them to be with the bar on the back. And then from there, it was an explosive movement up. Now with the bands, A little bit low. We were able to load that eccentric a little bit faster now. So coach was really talking about, hey, is there a way we can load that eccentric a little faster? So we did this, and it worked out really, really well. Obviously, we tried it out ourselves. Just some different nuances. The only thing you really have to adjust is, besides the weight on the bar, obviously, is the pin height for each athlete. Most of the athletes are pretty consistent across the board. A couple of the females, you had to drop it all the way down to 1. But anyways, it's not a finite science in terms of they actually at quarter. But I think we did a good job in terms of basically individualizing in terms of where they needed to be in band height. And by the couple weeks after, obviously, like I talked about, the more the experience the student athletes got with it, the better they got with it. Oh, my fault. Sorry about that. Fast forward a little bit. Guess you'll have to watch this again, sorry. Some pin squats. Basically, as heavy as we got on those was about 73%. And we never did anything more than triples on those, triples or doubles. And then a quarter squat here. Same basic setup, which is really nice, just a different loading. And here's some vertical jumps. So we're able to get the jump mats out. Like I said, very, very competitive group. Wanted to know their numbers. We're able to give them numbers instantly. Good landings. Just doing one jump at a time. One on, one off, just based on how many individuals are trying to get through, but everybody gets a number. And then some of our drop jumps. So this is something we did do this year too. We got the scoops right in the weight room, so we'll throw a jump mat off, get their ground reaction time, and get their vertical height off that. So right after done squatting, drop jump right in the racks there. It's really easy to facilitate it. All the athletes still right there. Then day 2 is some cluster cleans like we talked about, whether you're from the hang, whether you're from the ground. Everybody's doing a lot of the same stuff. Some more jerks. I think we'll have some single leg split squat. Basically, that was during the first 3 weeks. Once we get there, some strength stuff before we go into our more speed-based. Yep, not a very good video. But anyway, some single leg, whether it's front rack, whether it's back rack. That was during the first 3 weeks of the outdoor season. So it was our accessory. So, and then after that, hopefully repeat it. Hopefully do it again. Hopefully do it a little bit better next time. But anyways, thank you for your time. Any questions, feel free to ask me, please.